Can you tell us the difference between time-restricted feeding versus intermittent fasting? The reason I'm asking that is many patients will say, oh, I'm doing time-restricted feeding. I start my first bite at 2 p.m. and my last bite at 10 p.m. So I still belong to an 8-hour window. Can you share your ideas on this?
Well, the thing is, when we first published that paper, we said 8 hours time restricted feeding is beneficial. 8 hours is not a magic number. The reason why we did 8 hours was convenience.
Mm.
Then we have done 9 hours, 10 hours. We find very similar results. So intermittent fasting is a very broad term,
Mhm.
which means that you have to reduce fasting means you have to reduce your calorie intake from your average calorie or what your body requires on one or more days in a week.
Right.
So that's the broad term. Whereas time restricted feeding is a very different term. It doesn't say that you have to reduce your calorie explicitly. If you can,
Mm.
that's okay. But in all the mouse experiment that we do, we make sure that the time restricted fed mice actually eat the same number of calories as the control group. The only thing is we align it to a time when the body is more prepared to digest food and do better.
Mm. Mm.
So just imagine if you if you're a gardener or if you're trying to grow a plant,
Mhm.
let's say a rose plant, and then you know that you have to water the plant, but it doesn't mean that you have to put the rose plant under your sink and water 24/7. That's going to kill the plant.
Right.
And you cannot do intermittent fasting on the rose plant because you just cannot stop watering for 4 or 5 days in a week. The idea is you got to just water enough.
Ah.
And time restricted feeding is just like that. You water your garden just enough at the right time and it will take care of itself. So that's why we say time restricted. You are restricting to a certain window in the day, and we don't use the word fasting because
Mm.
people think that fasting is depriving your body of something that it needs.
It needs. Ah. Mm.
Whereas
Mm.
time restricted feeding is you are feeding the body at the right time every day.
But how about people doing 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. every day?
Well, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., that's also time restricted feeding. They just call it intermittent fasting or whatever they can call it. It's a semantics.
Mm.
The practice is the same. Like it's so you might say that well they're starting at 2 p.m. going till 10 p.m. Is that good or bad? I mean, it's scientifically in scientific literature there is nothing that says that 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. is intermittent fasting and everything else is time restricting. That's just what the popular media has latched on to.
But they're missing the effect of circadian rhythm if they do that, isn't it? From 2 p.m. to 8 p.m.
So yeah, I mean there is a convenience factor that some people think that they can just get up and skip their morning meal and then go to 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. And it may be okay for many people because for a lot of people they need to have dinner with their family or the business dinner which happens usually late at night, and they're adapting to that. So in our experiment what we have found is any time restriction is better than no time restriction.
Mm.
So it's almost like doing exercise. Any exercise is better than no exercise.
Right. Good. Good.
And then in this case, whether you're doing in the afternoon or morning, there will be some differences. For example, if you're doing from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., then it's likely that you'll still eat a lot of unhealthy food, many desserts, sweets, and alcohol because all of those things are consumed late at night. Whereas if you start early, then you're actually unintentionally you'll improve your nutrition quality irrespective of what happens. Means reducing alcohol, reducing
The calorie. Right.
calorie dense diet, and also reducing all the unhealthy food is always better for you.
So
So
that brings up the next question about the weekday versus weekend, right? That is
yeah.
the biggest deal breaker. My all of my patients say, I'm so good at for the first 5 days. The next 2 days, I just go haywire, like 8 p.m., 9 p.m.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's we did that experiment in mice. So we actually let the mice party in the weekend. So we let them eat whenever they wanted, and these mice actually overeat in the weekend. They eat more than the mice that have had limited access to food all 7 days.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
But still, they had almost 80% benefits of the time restricted fed who eat religiously all 7 days within 9 hours. So skipping, kind of getting out of the window for 1 or 2 days is not that bad. But in practice, what happens is, if you're doing time restricted eating, and if you eat late at night on Saturday, Friday, or Sunday, then on the next day your body will remind you, because you'll feel more groggy, you might have acid reflux at night, you might lose good night of sleep.
Mm.
So that's what happens. There is a positive feedback loop that it reminds you that you did something that you're not supposed to do.